Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive into all things crypto. We'll be taking a look at the most interesting stories from October 23rd, 2024.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and we've got a really great mix of sources today. We've got some big names like Decrypt and CoinDesk,
Right.
and then we've also got some articles that go into a bit more detail on specific stories. So we're really going to be able to cover a lot of ground today.
Looking forward to it.
So, are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's kick things off with a quick look at Decrypt's News Explorer.
Sounds good.
So, first up, Bitcoin mining difficulty just hit an all-time high.
Wow.
I know, right?
That's impressive.
It's pretty mind-boggling when you think about the sheer computing power that's involved.
Right.
Like all those miners out there dedicating so much energy to securing the Bitcoin network.
Yeah, and it really just goes to show you how resilient the Bitcoin ecosystem is. You know, even with all this regulatory uncertainty and market fluctuations, it's still going strong.
Definitely. Oh, and speaking of fluctuations, Scroll just launched their token and did an airdrop.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Some people are like super stoked about getting free tokens,
Yeah.
but then others are feeling a little bit left out. It's always interesting to see the reactions to airdrops.
Yeah, it's kind of a gamble, isn't it?
It is. You never know who's going to get lucky. And speaking of big players, Tesla is back in the news again.
Oh, what did they do now?
Well, there's been some interesting activity in their Bitcoin wallet, so now everyone's speculating about what their next move is.
Buying or selling.
Exactly. The mystery continues.
I feel like Tesla always keeps us guessing when it comes to crypto.
For sure. But let's move on to a story with some potentially serious legal implications. Blockchain.com, the crypto platform, is facing some legal trouble.
Cool.
They failed to file some important documents, and they could end up with a pretty hefty fine.
Wow, an unlimited fine. That's serious.
Yeah, it is. This whole thing just highlights how important compliance is, especially as the regulatory landscape for crypto keeps changing.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this story as it develops. But for now, let's dive into some of the specific stories that caught my eye.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Great. First up, let's head over to Nigeria, where a Binance executive was just released after spending months in detention on money laundering charges.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
This whole case really gives you a glimpse into just how tricky it can be to run a global crypto business.
Yeah, especially with all the different legal systems and regulations out there.
Exactly. And just because the charges were dropped against this executive doesn't mean that Binance is out of the woods yet. They're still dealing with tax evasion charges and investigations into their operations in Nigeria, even though they officially pulled out back in March.
Right. It's definitely a complicated situation.
So to get the full picture, we need to rewind back to February, when Tadrin Gambarian, who was in charge of financial crime compliance at Binance, was arrested. And he spent over 7 months in a Nigerian prison before finally being released.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is. And the Nigerian Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, or EFCC as they're known, said they dropped the charges partly because Gambarian's role at Binance wasn't considered senior enough to keep pursuing the case.
Interesting. So they basically said he wasn't high enough up the food chain to be held responsible.
Right. Plus, there were also concerns about his health deteriorating while he was in detention.
Oh, that adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing.
It does. Gambarian's lawyer had been saying that his client's health was getting worse in prison, but the EFCC initially denied those claims. So it makes you wonder, how much of a factor those health concerns played in their decision to drop the charges.
Yeah, it's hard to say for sure, but it definitely highlights the human cost that can be involved in these kinds of legal battles.
Absolutely. And for Binance, it's a stark reminder that operating in the global crypto space comes with a lot of challenges. They're learning that navigating the different regulatory landscapes around the world is no easy feat.
Definitely a tough lesson to learn.
But let's shift gears now and talk about something a bit more fun: gaming. Ubisoft, the company behind big hits like Assassin's Creed, just launched their very first original NFT game.
Oh, wow, really? I hadn't heard about that.
It's called Champions Tactics: Grimoria Chronicles.
Oh.
And as a gamer myself, I have to admit, I'm pretty excited about this one. It's amazing to see a major player in the traditional gaming world going all in on blockchain technology and NFTs.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. What's the game like?
Well, it's free to play on PC, but it uses optional NFTs on the Oasis network.
Okay.
These NFTs represent champions that you can collect, battle with, and even merge to create new, more powerful ones.
So you can play for free, but the NFTs give you some extra advantages.
Exactly. And I love that Ubisoft is giving players that choice, They can enjoy the game without spending a dime, or they can dive into the NFT side of things to enhance their experience.
That's a smart move. It makes it accessible to a wider audience.
Right. And get this, they actually airdropped 75,000 of these NFT champions for free before the game even launched.
Wow, that's a great way to generate some buzz.
For sure. And it's a nice way to reward early adopters.
Definitely. So these NFTs, are they just cosmetic, or do they actually affect the gameplay?
Oh, they definitely have an impact. They come with unique attributes and abilities that can give you a strategic edge in battles.
Cool. So it's not just about collecting pretty digital items, it actually changes how you play the game.
Exactly. And to make things even more interesting, Ubisoft is giving players who own NFTs from their older Warlords collection some extra perks in Champions Tactics.
Oh, nice. That's a clever way to connect their different projects and reward loyal players.
It is. And it shows that they're really thinking about how to build a strong community around their blockchain gaming initiatives.
It's definitely a smart move. It's like they're creating a whole ecosystem where your digital assets can be used across multiple games.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about blockchain gaming. It has the potential to completely change the way we think about ownership and value in the gaming world.
Yeah, the possibilities are pretty mind-blowing when you really think about it.
They are. And it's awesome to see companies like Ubisoft leading the charge and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It really feels like Ubisoft is all in on this blockchain gaming thing.
Yeah, I think they're onto something.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see other big gaming companies following their lead.
Oh, for sure. In fact, they've already announced another NFT game that's in development.
Oh, really?
It's called Captain Laserhawk, the GAME.
Okay.
And this one's going to be built on the Arbitrum network.
Interesting. Arbitrum is getting pretty popular in the blockchain gaming world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's known for being scalable and having low transaction fees, which is like super important for a smooth gaming experience,
Yeah, definitely. So it seems like Ubisoft is really branching out and trying different platforms for their blockchain games. That's pretty cool.
It is. They're really pushing the boundaries.
It's definitely an exciting time for gaming.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about legal battles, we've talked about gaming. Now let's switch gears one more time and talk about something that could have a huge impact on the entire crypto world, the US presidential election.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right. Bitcoin's price is like flirting with record highs. And everyone in the crypto community is on the edge of their seats, wondering how the election results might change things.
Yeah, it's a nail biter for sure.
I know. I mean, the future of regulation, adoption, even the price of Bitcoin, it could all hinge on who wins.
Absolutely. It's a lot of uncertainty hanging in the air.
It is. And get this, traders are already betting that Bitcoin will hit $80,000 by the end of November.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're saying it doesn't even matter who wins the election. Like, they're so confident that Bitcoin is going to keep going up.
That's some serious optimism. What's driving that, do you think?
Well, I think a lot of people believe that a change in administration could finally bring some clarity to the whole regulatory mess.
Yeah, that makes sense. Right now, the U.S. crypto industry is kind of stuck in limbo,
Totally. And that makes it hard for businesses to operate and innovate.
Yeah, for sure. So are these traders basically saying, just give us some clear rules and we'll figure it out?
Pretty much. They want a predictable environment, even if it means more regulation.
Interesting. So they're not necessarily afraid of regulation. They just want to know what they're dealing with.
Right. They're more worried about the uncertainty than the actual rules themselves.
Which is understandable. I mean, the current administration's crackdown on crypto hasn't exactly been encouraging.
It hasn't. A lot of people in the industry feel like it's stifling innovation and pushing businesses away from the U.S.
Right. So there's hope that a new administration, whether it's Trump or Harris, will take a more balanced approach.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's talk about the potential impact of each candidate. First up, we've got Donald Trump, who's been pretty vocal about his support for crypto in the past.
Right. He even talked about launching a digital dollar backed by the U.S. government.
He did, which, could be a huge deal for the crypto market.
For sure. But on the other hand, Trump can be pretty unpredictable. We don't know for sure if he'd actually follow through on those pro-crypto ideas.
True. And then we've got Kamala Harris, who's taken a much more cautious stance.
Right. She's all about regulation and consumer protection.
Which, could be a good thing. Clear regulations could bring more stability to the market and attract institutional investors.
Definitely. But there's also the risk that those regulations could be too strict. that they could stifle growth and drive crypto businesses away from the US.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance. It really depends on the specifics of those regulations and how they're implemented.
Right, exactly. So it's hard to say for sure what impact either candidate would have on the crypto world.
It is. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
It's definitely going to be an interesting few months.
So where do you think this whole tokenization thing is headed?
Oh, man, I think we're just getting started, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. As this technology gets better and better and more big institutions get on board, I think we're going to see all sorts of new ways to use it.
Like what? What are you most excited about?
Well, one area that I think is super interesting is real estate.
Real estate.
Imagine being able to buy and sell pieces of property online, just like that.
Oh, wow.
No more dealing with all those middlemen and piles of paperwork.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Right. It would open up property investment to way more people.
Definitely. It would be a game changer.
And it's not just real estate, We could see this with art, collectibles, intellectual property, even carbon credits.
Whoa. Like the whole world could become tokenized.
It's crazy, right?
It is. But, okay, before we get too carried away with all that, let's bring it back to the U.S. election for a minute.
Okay.
We've talked about all the different scenarios, but what are your final thoughts on how this could all play out for Bitcoin?
Well, it's clear that everyone in the crypto world is waiting to see what happens. There's a lot at stake. But you know what? No matter who wins, I still think the fundamentals of crypto are solid.
I agree. The demand for decentralized, censorship-resistant money is only going to keep growing.
Exactly. People are looking for alternatives, especially with all the economic uncertainty and geopolitical stuff happening in the world.
Yeah, totally. And as more people start to understand what crypto is all about, I think adoption will just keep increasing, regardless of what politicians do.
I think you're right. The genie's out of the bottle at this point. Crypto is here to stay.
It is. And the future's looking pretty bright.
It is. There will be bumps along the way, for sure. But the crypto community is full of innovators, and I think they'll find a way to overcome any challenges that come up.
I think so, too. All right. Well, on that note of optimism, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We've covered so much today. Legal battles, NFT gaming, tokenization, the U.S. election. It's been quite a ride.
It has. It's always a fascinating conversation.
It is. And to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us. Keep learning about crypto, stay curious, and stay engaged.
And until next time, happy diving.
See y'all next time.